might leave your ankles on the field, put you on the rail. How you feel? Feel the watch the sweep just like a broom. Hail Mary and put his GM in a tomb. Make some room, call it time out, cause they not ready. Think they feeling all the pressure, cause they know I apply it heavy. Try to cover one-on-one, my cuss gon' be too deadly. Have him watching all that film while he's snuggling on his teddy. Man, who let me step up in the game with a mindset of making sure I'm heard. I'm pointed tenant, it ain't time yet. When it is, I bet you know. Don't fix your legs to come around me if you acting all scary in the snow. Oh, you said something? Tell your homie better chill. He don't ride how we ride for our team, and that's for real. Oh, you said something? When the kickoff, he gon' kneel. I don't wanna hear nothing if it ain't about them bills. Oh, you said something? Tell your homie better chill. He don't ride how we ride for our team, and that's for real. Oh, you said something? When the kickoff, he gon' kneel. I don't wanna hear nothing if it ain't about them bills. Make sure your helmet on tight and your mouthpieces in. Make sure your team get right before they put you on the bench. If it's Monday night, you know it's prime time.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Bill's World. I am Justice General Radford. As always, I am here with the coach, championship coach, beat reporter, Muki Hawkins in the building. Ain't run for public office. Busy man over here. Busy man over here. How you doing, coach? What's going on, Mook?
I'm good, man. I'm good. You know, steady running, man. Steady running as usual. But guess what, man? We got a season that is happening right now. Bills are in involuntary workouts, and Tuesday, OTA. So you know what that's all about.
Absolutely, and we're going to get into all of it. We've been gone for a while. We got a lot going on behind the scenes and some really big surprises for you guys in the near future. But until then, let's go ahead and just talk about kind of what we kind of missed over the last couple weeks. OTAs, injuries, just different philosophical ideals that are emerging in the community of what the Bills might be able to do, this upcoming season with the roster that they have. So let's start with OTAs, right? Involuntary workouts. Everybody was there except for one person, right? I would say we expected this, you know what I mean? James Cook was not there. It was involuntary, so it's not like he was, reprimanded for not being there, or could be reprimanded, but it is a sign. Obviously, James Cook wants a new contract, and there are reports that he's, kind of severed all ties with the Bills community and the city of Buffalo, or all that other jargon. But what are your thoughts on it, Coach? What do you think about what James Cook said now?
I mean, the narrative of it all, that the picture that is trying to paint, I don't like. It's just really trying to paint James to be a bad guy, and he's just really being transparent on what he feels, what his worth is. Why a man should be ridiculed on, saying what his worth is kind of baffling to me. But I mean, that's the part of the business. Again, nobody would have thought that the running back market would reset itself. It did. So what that's saying now is that teams, when they're doing their finances and things of that nature, they have to, now factor in the possibility of paying a running back a little bit more than what they, had in mind. Okay, so obviously, yes, that definitely caught the Bills off guard. With James Cook, saying his worth, what he wants, what he was looking for. I can't say what he wants, but basically what he was looking for in a contract, and what the Bills had to pay out at that time. So to say though that he's disconnected himself, I mean, let's read in between the lines of what was said. When you're disconnecting yourself, he's not disconnecting himself. It's just that right now the Bills don't have no money to even have a conversation. We can't have a conversation if we don't have that money to even have that conversation. The Bills don't have no money right now to even have a conversations with James Cook. So for reports to be out there seeming like it's some sort of disconnect, definitely is not on James Cook's behalf. Okay, let me just say that's not coming from James Cook. That disconnect, and you know, at this point, a time where the Bills are in the season, is not coming from them either. All right, so we have to read. People just have to read in between the lines on how that business goes. There was a small window for a deal to get done. Obviously, the deal didn't get done. Right, so right now, I mean, James Cook will just have to wait. And the only way to even start that process on the right foot is to report to camp. I mean, if you want your money, you know, report to camp, and you know, you'll have those conversations, right? So, you know, I I have every inkling to think that James Cook will report to camp. I don't think that. I mean, it's serious, but it's not to the point where he's not going to show for camp. I mean, that's not going to get a deal done either, you know. So right now, it's just what it is as far as where the Bills are money wise, and just where it is at this point. So hopefully the deal will get done, whether it's in season, the start of training camp next year, whatever the case. Maybe it happens during training camp this year. Who knows? But right now, the Bills just don't have any, you know, don't have that type of capital to even have that conversation to, you know, to begin with James Cook. So I just don't like how it's spinning off, you know, to where it's some disconnect. It's an organic disconnect. And, you know, at the end of the day, as far as disconnecting himself from the city, that's not true neither. He has his camp scheduled in July right here at St. Joe's. So to say that James Cook is disconnected from the city and all of that, that's not true. And I just don't like how that narrative is spinning. I don't think that James Cook really deserved that. He just spoke his mind and made his opinion. He shouldn't be ridiculed for it, but that's just the business. But to me, it's no disconnect. It's no disconnect between the Bills organization and James Cook. So I just don't like how that was put out there like that. But, you know, if he shows, then hey, you know, you got your answer. And if he don't show, you definitely got your answer, right? So
he's gonna show. I mean, he still wants to get his money. Obviously, it would be counterproductive not to show, especially with the new CBA and how the rules work for holdouts. So my thing is, I kind of find myself going back and forth with James Cook, because originally I was looking at it as like Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, like the whole Lamar versus Josh MVP thing kind of skewed my mindset on James Cook a little bit, right? Because I'm looking at the Ravens and how amazing their roster is, and Derrick Henry is this one-of-one type of running back, and James Cook is not that, right? But that kind of takes away from what James Cook is, you know what I mean? Because I went back recently and I watched the season back, you know, every game, and just, you know, analyzed the different things that I saw from beginning to end. And James Cook is a baller. James Cook is a player. He's the second best player on our offense. Maybe the second best player on our team. Top 5 for sure. So I think that he is essential to our offense being as high level as it is. I do think that we have a really good running scheme and a great offensive line that contributes to it. But I also know that James Cook is he's a home run hitter, and that's somebody who you would like to have paired up with Josh Allen. Another thing is his brother. His brother kind of went through that you know, running back market slump, you know, as it started to happen. So he's probably in his ear like, yo, you don't want to miss out on your chance to make money. You don't get too many chances to make money. You want to maximize on, you know, this opportunity while it's here. You just had 2 great seasons in a row. This is the time. And I understand that line of thinking, especially if you're coming from Dalvin Cook to your little bro. You know what I mean? Like, you went through your part of being one of the best running backs in the NFL. You got to your second contract and things didn't go the way that you wanted them to go. So now you don't want your little brother, you know, having to face the repercussions of what happened when Dalvin was, you know, getting the big bucks at the running back position. So I've kind of gone back and forth with the James Cook thing, but ultimately I think that he should just get paid. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna sit here and haggle over $2-3 million for a great player. You know what I mean? Because if he helps us win the Super Bowl, who cares about that $2-3 million in the long run? So I would like to see James Cook here in long term, and I think that him coming back for training camp will be the first step to that. And people are going to try to overblow things, especially after what we went through with Diggs. I don't think this is that. I don't think this is that.
No, I don't think that's what it is either. But I mean, man, it's some questions. Like how was he not out there when the game was on the line? That's you know something like that. He should have been out there on the field. Like I don't see too many players. I don't see too many players. Excuse me. That could do what James Cook did. What was it? 4th and goal. The ball was on the 3-yard line.
I think it was 3. Yep.
On the 3-yard line, when Josh gave James Cook the option pitch, James caught the ball on the 6-yard line, and it was nothing but 3 red jerseys over there. How did James Cook get in that end zone? It is not a lot of running backs in the NFL that can do what James Cook was able to do right then and there in that moment when you had to score. When I had to elude 3 people and get 6 yards on 4th and goal to score, he did it. It's not too many running backs that can do that. And that was 2.5 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter. I do believe that's the last time James Cook touched the football in that game. So, I mean, when you got a player that you can give the ball to in a clutch situation and he can pull through, that's a guy that should be getting the ball quite often in my regard. So, and the only way James Cook is going to get that if he show up to camp. So, you want your bag, James? You got to show up to camp. Let them add to your load there a little bit, because I would love to see James Cook get more carries. When James Cook get over 15 or more carries, the Bills are virtually undefeated when that happens. So, I mean, he needs more touches. I think the offense is explosive, but it'd be even more out of reach if he were to get a little bit more touches than what he's been getting. He can at least give you over 2,000 total yards of scrimmage, 15 on the ground, maybe with 500, catching. He has that capability. So I figured that hopefully they'll up his workload a little bit more. So it's his final year to showcase if he's that type of back. If he's a $15 million back, the Bills got to give him every ample opportunity to showcase that, right? So it all starts with James Cook showing up on Tuesday, though.
Yeah, I think he'll show up. Switching gears from one player who's not there to another for entirely different reasons, though. Obviously, Joey Bosa is injured, and I know that comes as a massive shocker to everybody listening. It's early, so it's. I guess if he's going to be injured at any point, this would be the time where you would want him to be injured. But with his history, you have to wonder what it could mean for the Bills going forward. What are your thoughts on Joey Bosa not being there? Do you think he'll be able to be a consistent weapon for the Bills to use, especially come playoff time?
Well, they got to keep him healthy. When healthy, we know Joey Bosa is a force. So they just got to keep him healthy. So whatever the extent of the calf injury is, the Bills is going to treat it like, man, Fort Knox. And, you may not see Joey Bosa as a precaution now to week 1. He's going to be on the injury report all the way leading up to week 1. And that's not to say that, that's just really the extent of the injury. It's just that the Bills are going to take every precaution right now to make sure that he's 1,000%, not 100%, 1,000% ready to, play a complete season, rather than rushing him back out there and, he's dealing with a nagging injury. You got them calf injuries. Next thing to that is that Achilles. So you want to be very, very precautious when dealing with a calf injury because you don't know which way that could go. So the good thing about that, as far as I'm concerned, is we'll get to see more Javon Solomon and more Landon Jackson. I'm really excited to see what this defense is really going to look like, especially in the preseason games, because those young guys are going to get the opportunity to get out there. And I want to see what that's going to look like when you see TJ Sanders and Landon Jackson out there with Javon Solomon on the other side and Dwayne Carter. That's going to be pretty nice. And then you got the young guns and on the back end with Mad Max and Jordan Hancock, Dorian Strong, just to see that unit out there with a Hardy, a Daquan Hardy, right? And man, and it's going to be real exciting to see how this defense is going to really be flying around, making plays on the defensive side. So I'm really excited to see the younger guys. I mean, we know what Bosa can do, right? So just give us more of a look on, taking a look at Javon Solomon in his second year. I felt that given opportunity last year, he flashed a lot, quite a bit of the opportunities that he were able to make. So, you'll see more Solomon. You definitely see more Jackson now. Now that Bosa is dealing with an injury, and the Bills going to probably have every precaution in the book to keep him, out of harm's way or re-aggravating that thing until season officially starts. So I'm cool with it. The Bills have some great quality depth pieces now. So, injury won't, stunt the Bills' growth, if you can say, on the defensive side, especially if Bosa is not ready to roll come week one. I don't think they'll miss a beat, if he's not able to play.
Yeah, I mean, we've played all of our defensive snaps up to this point without Joey Bosa, and honestly, a dominant pass rusher from that perspective. Obviously, sans a healthy Von Miller, he was pretty good when he was healthy. But looking at the defense as a whole, you mentioned Solomon and you mentioned Jackson. These guys are going to be very big players for the Bills going forward, especially this upcoming season.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a huge influx of youth into the defensive roster specifically.
Mm-hmm.
How did those guys look at OTAs, and how do you expect for those guys to impact the defense moving forward?
Well, I mean, they're going to come with a whole different type of energy. So that's something that, you haven't seen in a while. The transition of the Bills, Coach McDermott having a young defense, right? So this is it. This is the transitioning of McDermott having a younger defense. You got basically, as far as linebackers, we know Matt Milano is big bruh, right? But that's being led by right now Terrell Bernard. The youth movement starts there. On the back end, officially no more Poyer, no more Hyde back there. So you got a youth movement of Hancock, Bishop, um, 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 Mad Max, Dorian Strong. You got a combination of that. And then up front, what they were able to do with Solomon and Carter last year, and now bringing in TJ Sanders this year with Landon Jackson. So, it's going to be, it's a youth movement going on. And now the Bills have some young, fiery guys that going to make this rotation complete from back end to the front end. And you'll see more plays on the defensive end. You'll see them getting at the quarterback a little bit more. And man, they can make plays on third down. They can get teams off the field on third down. That's been Achilles heel for this Bills team, especially in the playoffs, the past couple of years. So I think, Brandon Beane, Coach McDermott got it right on, adding the right pieces defensively, so they can see some improvements in areas where, were eyesores, going into last year's postseason.
So looking at the defense and the young guys going into the season, who do you feel like has the most superstar potential out of the players drafted in the last 2 years?
On a defense?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say, man, I'm really impressed by this year's draft class. Um, I know that Solomon going in year two, Dwayne Carter year two, they're definitely going to produce because they were able to produce given the opportunity last year. Carter stunted, his growth got stunted when he got the injuries. He put together a couple of great games, and then he got the injury, kind of stunted his growth there. So another year under his belt, completely healthy, understanding how linemen how the linemen play in the NFL. Those tendencies should benefit him quite well. Solomon again, I feel that, man, given the opportunity with more snaps, he would be highly productive. We're really going to see what he's learned from Von Miller, knowing that Von Miller is not in the locker room now. So what has he picked up, from Von to make sure he's not having a slumping sophomore season. Superstar though, I think Mad Max. I think um, we're going to see some playmaking ability out the corner spot this year that we haven't seen. Since Tre'Davious White was basically should have got Defensive Player of the Year. That one year when he had an outstanding season. Think about like 5-6 picks that year. So I think we got a player in Mad Max that has the potential of being a superstar right away. I mean, he got the speed. So it's going to be a breath of fresh air knowing that the Bills finally had a speed guy at corner that can cover some of the fastest receivers in the NFL. And he's not a short guy. So, he definitely has some ranginess to him and some speed to cover some ground. So, that's what we haven't seen in a while. He has tremendous recovery speed, and he fits both schemes. He can play in the man, obviously, because of the speed, and his read and react time in zone is definitely a trait that the Bills honed in on. So I'll say Mad Max. Landon Jackson, I believe he's a stud as well. TJ Sanders is going to be a high motor guy on third down with him and Ed Oliver out there. And the guy that we're not really talking about is Deion Walker at 6'7", 340 pounds. Once the Bills get him right, that's another button star that we're going to be talking about down the line. But this is a solid defensive draft, and I'm really excited to see what these young guys are going to do on the defensive side come preseason.
Yeah, I myself was gonna say Deion Walker, just because I feel like Deion Walker might end up being like a Gronk pick, where it's like, wow, this guy's so big, so agile. How did like this is a no brainer? How did nobody see this? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I like that type of potential for him. What about from the offensive side of the ball? I mean, you got continuity at the offensive line, which is unheard of in Buffalo. So this is a beautiful thing. One of the best offensive lines in the league, right? And obviously one of, if not the best quarterbacks in the league. You got a great running game, but a lot of new weapons as pass catchers. Which one of those guys looked the most promising out of guys like Chenault and Palmer and some of the newer guys like Moore as well?
Well, that offense, I mean, top scoring offense in the league last year, and I think that with the pieces that they were able to add is better than last year's offensive weaponry. You got a healthy Curtis Samuel coming in now. You got Keon Coleman in year two. You got Khalil Shakur right now is on the top of his game. Obviously, wide receiver number one, right? You brought in Joshua Palmer, who could, you got a route runner who can get separation. He can run all the routes for you. And you got Elijah Moore, that to me is the really sneaky pick because he can run all the routes too, but he has the speed to match that. And that was a steal with Elijah Moore. So you add two, you bring in two weapons. Not to discredit my guy Matt Collins. I thought Matt Collins was definitely. I could have thought that Matt Collins was the first Bill that they were going to re-sign last year. Matt Collins definitely proved to everyone that he should have stayed here. Just didn't go that way. I guess the Bills were going a little bit more younger in their approach. and thought a little bit more than saying, hey, maybe Keon Coleman is ready now to, take a little bit more of the reign. So that would cut in probably to more of Mac Hollins' workload, right? So that's maybe where I'm figuring why, they went elsewhere at wide receiver. So you got Keon Coleman, and I mean, frame looks good coming into year 2. He's definitely been working. He ain't been playing around. He's serious business, and we'll see. He already reports on how him and Mad Max have locked horns, and right now we have to say Keon Coleman is getting the best of the rookie. But in Bill's world, iron sharpens iron, baby. So he's only getting them prepared of what he's going to go through, during the course of the season. So that's what OTAs is for. That's what training camp is all about. Making sure that both irons is sharp at the point of attack when the season starts. So, on the offensive side, man, you got more weapons with Josh. Hopefully James Cook get in here. He can get a bigger responsibility. Ray Davis, year 2, played phenomenal his rookie season. I mean, just another year with everyone, under Joe Brady's scheme. It's an advantage for them, right? Nobody thought that this team would do what they did offensively last year with majority of those guys back. When you got them hogs up front and you got the dogs in the back, man, that's, another year, with some more added weapons is just going to make this offense a little bit more spicier and difficult for defenses to try to get tabs on. So we'll see. Will Joe Brady unleash the beast and Josh Allen arm this year a little bit more? Into a sequel of a MVP season, or will he just come with more balance in the offense? So it's gonna be pretty interesting. Got more weapons than he's ever had, so it's gonna be pretty interesting to see who's going to be out there in certain personnel groupings and packages to keep the defense off balance with the balance that they have offensively.
Yeah, I feel like with the Bills, I feel like the emergence of the run game is almost like a long-term play action pass, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like the point of a play action pass is because you have a sufficient run game that will allow to suck the linebackers in so you can get the ball deep over the middle, etc. Right? I feel like the fact that they got so good at the run, it makes you have to. It legitimizes it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to respect the run game. So now Josh has a little more. The field is a little more open for him to be able to make plays because we can kill you either way. And now that. Now you have to respect it. So I feel like that's kind of like almost what the purpose of it was. And I'm excited to see what it looks like to see Josh with ample weapons, a great run game, a great offensive line, and now a defense that's invigorated with youth and speed and athleticism and size. Excuse me. So it's going to be really interesting to see. But before we get up out of here, I do got a question for you. Coming up in training camp, what is an underrated positional battle that you're looking forward to?
Underrated position battle, and I'm looking forward to. Punter? That's an underrated position nobody's talking about. Nobody's talking about the position battle at punter right now. Now, mind you, the 2 punters that the Bills do have on the roster were the best punters in college football when coming out, right? So make no mistake about it. We do have ourselves a battle at punter. All right. So do your research on these 2 guys. All right. So that's one. Another underrated battle that to keep your eye on is tight end number 3. We already know who tight end 1 and tight end 2 is, but tight end number 3, Zach Davidson, and obviously, Spencer Hawes, the rookie from out of Georgia Tech by way of Yale. You look at that number 3 spot is in the tight ends is always vital, especially in Joe Brady's scheme. 3 tight ends are definitely essential. Let's see what other battles. That wide receiver battle is going to be something too. I mean, make no mistake about that. Like, where does Elijah Moore and Curtis Samuel, will they be out there together? How will they be used? If it's a full wide receiver set, who's the odd man out in that? So, it's a lot of underrated battles that way. Safety, how that's going to work with Jordan Hancock and Cam Lewis. That matchup there. You got Cam Lewis, who's a Swiss Army knife, who can play inside, outside, and can play some safety. But now you're bringing in a guy in Jordan Hancock, who's a little bit more bigger at 6'1", 200 pounds. He can play that big nickel, and he also can play safety as well. Not an outside guy, but he gives you that more physicality and more measurables on at playing big nickel, and then obviously he has the range and the ability to cover from a safety standpoint. So those are just some 3 matchups to keep your eye on, that's underrated. The obvious is the obvious, but those are something that I'm keeping my eye on as things go along.
Hey, coach, Buffalo Bills, the only team in the NFL that is favored in every single game they are scheduled to play this season per ESPN. High expectations for the Bills. You got teams like the Chiefs and the Ravens, who the only reason they aren't favored in every game is because they play the Bills. So it'll be really, really interesting to see what is the ceiling for this team. That would be my last question before we get up out of here. What do you think the ceiling for this team is? Obviously, Super Bowl win, we all know that they're capable of it. But what does best case scenario look like?
Right now, Super Bowl. Like you said it. Your schedule can't be your favorite to win every game. So that's never happened. I'm not sure if that happened during the Super Bowl run that the Bills had in the 90s. So, like, everything right now points to the Bills in the Super Bowl at least. At least punching that ticket finally to get to a Super Bowl. That's the way I'm looking at it. The way how they got the schedule, all the Bills' tough games are at home too, right? So you talk about, the big dogs that the Bills do play, they still have an advantage because they play in their own backyard. They play Philly in their own backyard. You play
undefeated at home last year too.
Kansas City, yes. You got Kansas City at home. You got Baltimore at home in the home opener. So all your tough games are here in your own backyard, which you just mentioned that the Bills are undefeated and a streak is still occurring, as we speak at home. So I think that this is the year. I know we said every year, but everything just points right now in this Bills team's favor to go out there and take care of business.
And not only that, but everything favors for this to be the first time that the Bills can capture the 1 seed, get a game off, right, and then have the playoffs run through Western New York, which is a game changer. I mean, the Bills are good. We know that they can go anywhere and win. We know that they can beat anybody in the NFL on any given Sunday. But not every team is used to coming to Buffalo. You know what I mean? Especially in this last year in the stadium. If you could, you have the 9th easiest schedule or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. You have a perfect opportunity to win a bunch of games, to make Patrick have to come to Buffalo, right? To make Lamar have to come to Buffalo. If Joe can get there, to make Joe have to come to Buffalo, right? This is the perfect opportunity to solidify, hey, we're the top dogs in the AFC, and you got to come beat us if you want a chance to play in the Super Bowl, and look, I said it. I tweeted it out. I think this is the year Josh Allen enters his prime, and everybody looked at me when I had 3 heads when I said that. But what people don't understand or are choosing not to understand is that Josh Allen is top one quarterback. He's 1%. He's an anomaly, right? Him, Pat, Lamar. I put those three as the anomalies, right? They can move, they can throw, they can think, they can do really whatever they want to do, right? But Josh Allen isn't the perfect quarterback, even though he looks and plays like it. You know what I mean? Like there are still like weaknesses to his game that he can improve upon. So if he's able to shore up those very few weaknesses that he does have, he already played the cleanest season of football in NFL history by a quarterback relative in terms of sacks and turnovers, which is unfathomable considering what the narrative of him was going into the season, right? Washed all that away. And I think that this is the year where he figures it out, where he's like, okay, I'm going to meet production with efficiency. And this is where, Josh enters his prime, where he starts going and doing those Aaron Rodgers, Aaron MVP numbers with, 45 touchdowns and 5 interceptions type. You know what I mean? I'm thinking this is the start of that.
Yeah, he completely evolved, and it's really going on. It's going to be on Brady. Unleash Josh. I want to see bombs over Baghdad. I want to see him dial it up a little bit more. That's going to keep defenses on his toes. And again, you got one of the most mobilest and accurate quarterback on the run. Use Josh to his strengths. Do some more design rollouts, some bootlegs. Do some play action, man, and go up top. You got Elijah Moore, you got Josh Palmer now, guys that can blow the top off defenses. You got Keon Coleman, who's super ultra athletic. So man, Curtis Samuel, he's running 4.3. So you got the necessary pieces that you could do anything with. You can do any scheme you want with the pieces that Joe Brady have right now in his weaponry. So let's open it up. Like you mentioned, let's get Josh to the 4,500 yards with the 45 touchdowns. Let's be, man, if the Bills can duplicate their point production of what they did last year, maybe scoring 35 points a game, a little bit more. Yeah, that'll definitely, assure you a number one seed. Something that probably is the only thing left other than clinching the Super Bowl that Coach McDermott hasn't done. He hasn't been Coach of the Year yet. He hasn't never had a 1 seed, and he hasn't had a Super Bowl appearance.
He won't be Coach of the Year. They won't let that happen.
Other than that, he's done everything that he's supposed to do as a coach.
He's coached seasons good enough to have been Coach of the Year or a top candidate in Coach of the Year. He does not get the recognition.
They robbed him, man. They snubbed him 1 year. They gave it to Stefanski. That 1 year. I don't understand how Coach McDermott go 13-3, AFC Championship, all that stuff, but he don't get no Coach of the Year consideration. Right. But they end up giving Dable the offensive coordinator of the year. So, I don't know. I mean, they robbed that man. Hopefully he'll get it this year. Maybe the Bills could hog all the hardware. Coach McDermott get Coach of the Year, Josh get another MVP, Deion Dawkins get Man of the Year, and come out of here.
I don't think McDermott will get a Coach of the Year until after he wins the Super Bowl. Then they'll start putting him in consideration. But I don't think the AP respects him enough. Even though he deserves it, I don't think he'll get the consideration.
So if the Bills win 15 games, what they gonna say? Oh, because their schedule was weak. Like you gotta pick. You can't, man. You gotta give that man his flowers, man. Like you gotta give it to him. If the Bills go get 14 wins or 15 wins, and we're gonna do another segment when we really break down that. But I'm saying right now, if the Bills get 14, 15 wins, Coach McDermott definitely should be for Coach.
I'm with you. I just don't know if the AP will agree with us.
Well, I don't know. It seems like everybody riding that Bills way this year. They last year they didn't believe. Now, they believe in a little bit. So first they love you, then they hate you. Now they love you.
Cowboys win 11 games, their head coach is getting Coach of the Year.
Man, Cowboys. I don't think Cowboys win 11 games anyway. That NFC East is a beast. I don't know if they're gonna win 11 games. I don't know if they're gonna win 11 games. I can tell you that right now. But I don't know, man. I mean, all the things, the stars is aligning right. Josh Allen just tied the knot, so he ain't got nothing else to do but go ahead and win the whole damn thing right now.
Absolutely. And one more thing, yo, Sean McDermott, you give Sean McDermott a bunch of young, talented players who are like ripe and still mendable and right. They're not they come into the NFL ready to learn like sponges, like babies, you know what I'm saying? They're not stuck in their ways. They still have to develop a routine in the NFL. And you let Sean McDermott give them the good habits of good players. Because what do we say all the time about Sean McDermott's defense? He'll put the players in the right position. It's all about the players going and make a play, right? Mm-hmm. But if you get young, talented, athletic, strong, fast, these guys got size, and you give them as a fresh canvas to Sean McDermott, and you got 3, 4, 5 of them sprinkled all over the defense,
right?
This year it could be a problem. In 2 to 3 years, this defense is going to be the best defense in the NFL.
Right, because now you get a chance to develop those guys.
Exactly.
And years past, the Bills will go out and spend tons of money on overpriced veterans and think that was the answer on getting them over the hump. And they spent a lot of money up front because we all know that the game is going up front. But I think this is one of them, again, this is Coach McDermott and Brandon Beane's first rodeo at general manager and head coach. They never been the head coach or general manager nowhere else. They're here in Buffalo. So just because they've been here 7, 8 years doesn't mean that they're done, that they know everything, and that they're still not learning. So I think that they learned from going that direction in years past and say, hey, let's just go draft those guys and develop those guys at a cheaper rate, right? You bringing in guys right now up front, $8 million. You're paying Deion Walker for 4 years, probably $6 million, and he's going to be highly productive for you rather than spending that $8 million with Larry O or Mike Hoyt or whatever the case may be. So I think the Bills have got smarter to know that those guys are going to be on your roster, for more than 1 year, rather than what they've been doing in the past of just going with the 1 year deal, rotational guy, and it just hasn't panned out. And the Bills have, just hasn't panned out. I don't want to say they waste money, but they just didn't really get much bang for their buck, if that makes sense, going that route. So I'm excited to know that Deion Walker is going to be on this roster for 4 years. I'm excited to know that Landon Jackson is going to be on this roster for 4 years. I'm excited to know that TJ Sanders is going to be on this roster for 4 years.
Yeah.
And I think that, last year's rookie class is going to do a good job on showing this rookie class the ropes on, what it takes to be in a pro, getting into your playbook, and really going out there and doing what's necessary to do to make plays and contribute right away. So I think that to me, that's why I know this is going to be a fun and exciting year on the defensive side, because the Bills have definitely brought some studs in, and it's multiple. It's not just one guy. It's a few guys out there that's going to be flying around making plays. So if you get past one, you're not going to get past the other one, right? So it definitely give the Bills some relief, and we can't wait to see it come to fruition on the field.
We cannot wait to see it come to fruition on the field. We are excited about the 2025 season. It's almost there. We in June already. All right, July, August. Hey, we right there, man. We very, very close. One last thing I want to say: Jordan Hancock is about to Christian Benford, Cole Bishop's Kyrie Elam. I'm telling you that right now.
It'll be pretty interesting.
About to come snatch that chain right off his neck.
That's why the Bills ain't brought in Justin Simmons yet. Maybe that's why. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's still a possibility the Bills can pull a trick on a savvy vet.
Justin Simmons in Buffalo
or Blackman. You know what I mean? But you never know. Maybe Jordan Hancock is showing what he needs to show during involuntary workouts. That's preventing the Bills from putting in that phone call.
Yeah. Hopefully, that would be very, very nice if that's the reason. But although I would love to see Justin Simmons in a Bills uniform for this upcoming season, that would be awesome too. But that is going to do it for us here today on Bills World. Hey, thank you guys for tuning in. 1,600 live viewers. We appreciate the love, guys. Every single like, comment, subscription, retweet, repost, share, everything you guys do for us, we appreciate it. Big changes, big things coming up here, Buffalo Fan Base Network. We can't wait to show you guys what we have in store for you. So make sure you guys stay tuned because it's going to be a lot of opportunities.
More and more exclusive Bills content. You're going to see Bills players, on everybody's podcast. You're going to see, that Saturday night tailgate is going to be crazy this year. So the most Bills, exclusive Bills content you're going to see is going to be right here on the Buffalo, Fan Base Network. You know what I mean? So, man, make sure you subscribe, go follow YouTube, Instagram, all that good stuff, man. BFBN, hashtag BFBN. And, man, let's go. OTA's on deck Tuesday. James Cook. Where you at?
All right, let's go. Go Bills.